right, gentlemen, ladies, and bees, it is time to predict the Euros. And we all know how swimmingly this went last time for me when I expertly predicted the Premier League. Manchester City is going to win the Premier League because Lionel Messi is going to be on Manchester City. Expertly predicted the Premier League. I'm setting up a prediction league if you want to kind of do this along with me. It's on an app called Kiss My Score. It just happens to be a really good app to do this sort of thing. So you can click that down in the description, kind of join my league on there, and you'll be competing for prizes for not only your first place, but also if you pick everything and finish last, I will also be sending you a prize because I would find that very impressive. I also stream on Twitch. While you're down there, you can just click on that link and hang out for like 5 hours. So I've gone to the UEFA site to lay down who I think is going to advance in each group. I've also done this test where Football Manager simulates the Euros 100 times, and so that's going to inform my thinking, but not too much. Sometimes you have to trust your gut, but what I'm really going to try and trust is who I think is going to play well together, who I think is going to utilize that home field advantage that weirdly a bunch of teams have in this tournament, which I don't think is being talked about enough, and point out a couple of dark horses that I think could get through. But the first thing I'm going to point out is how stupid the matchmaking is. I don't understand the ranking systems that are used by FIFA, UEFA, whatever. This is ridiculous. Group A has Switzerland, Turkey, and Wales in it, right? Like Finland, Denmark, Russia is everybody that's behind Belgium in Group B, and I would argue Belgium's worse than Portugal, France, and Germany altogether. Like the fact that Group F exists is unfair to the entire nation of Hungary and unfair to everybody in Group F. It is. It's completely unfair. It's stupid. There's a group that has Austria, Macedonia, and Ukraine, and one of those teams has to finish second, and all three of those teams would get beaten like a drum. I mean, I'm talking like Phil Collins. I can see it coming in the air tonight. Like I can feel it coming in the air tonight. God. That's how bad they would get beaten trying to play any of the three teams in Group F, but not any of those three. Like, it's ridiculous, right? It's stupid, and it colors the way that this whole tournament is set up is because there are a couple of groups that are just absolute cupcakes. I mean, Belgium's been given the equivalent of like the Australia going to war against the emus. Like, how could they lose? But we'll get to that. We start with Group A, which I find really fascinating because the Italians are in the same category for Spain in my mind, where they're like, they are always going to have a lot of talent, but do they have that elite level talent, or is the kind of talent that just doesn't quite work well together to where a Switzerland or Turkey could come beat them? And don't fool yourself, Turkey's good. This is a better Turkey than we've seen in a while. I mean, this is like a good Thanksgiving dinner. I mean, their center backs are Soyuncu and Mary Demiral, which is peace, like choice. They've got Hakan Çalhanoğlu in the middle. They have Abdul Kadir Umir, who's been murdering me on Football Manager all year, when that counts for something. And they've got Enes Ünal, Cengiz Ünder, and Burak Yilmaz running around up top. And even though they might not have had the best seasons, these are players that are widely agreed upon by people that are smarter than me to have a lot of talent. It is worth looking at the actual rosters and pass the flag every once in a while. And I legitimately think that Turkey has a more talented front line than Switzerland, who they'll be coming up against. Because that's the question in this group. I can bluster about how I think the Italians are not as good as the Italy's first. Italy's first, mate. But I think Turkey is second. I think Switzerland's going to go through, and I don't think people realize exactly how much of an afterthought Wales is. Gareth Bale is not a hard carry player anymore, and I say that as somebody who stands for Gareth Bale. I simp for Gareth Bale. He's one of my favorite players of all time. They are going to finish last in this group. Hal Robson-Kanu isn't his way by Belgium again. He's just not. Like, they don't have the magic sauce anymore. They're gonna fall victim to the fact that they're just not as good as everybody else. And how can you stop Xherdan Shaqiri in a Switzerland shirt? I mean, you just can't. Like, the dude, all 5'2" of them every single time. He also carries a striking resemblance to my brother. He notices it too. Pretty sure he moonlights on the Swiss national team. Just something to look out for. Group B. This is Belgium and I don't think we're going to mess around with this one. I think everybody agrees that Belgium's going to be there. Russia, I mean, look, a lot of this comes down to whether Russia's doping or not. So Russia is only allowed to play in this competition because UEFA is not considered a major event organizer. Sure, because Russia's banned from like international competitions for doping everywhere. But I would hazard a guess that since basically everybody on the Russian team is coming from the Russian division, living in Russia all the time, that they might be a little wired and kind of, wow, look at that. Everybody's N'Golo Kante today. It's amazing. And because of that, I'm going to put Russia second. That's my reason. And also, it is very important to understand that when you play together all the time, there's a reason that Russia's very capable of being better than the sum of its parts would appear that it should be, based off of like Russian teams' European results. It's because these guys play together all the time or play against each other all the time. They know everybody. They're very intimately familiar with the system, right? They're coming off that World Cup high. They're going to come in with expectation. They're going to play well. Denmark also has good players. Højbjerg and Delaney is like I just learned how to say Højbjerg's name, by the way. I'm pretty sure I went with Hajberg for a while. Heiberg was one. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. It sounds French. Like the number of consonants they're abandoning is French-esque. And then there's Finland. But look, if Finland's going to beat anybody, I think it would probably be Russia, a non-doped up Russia. Denmark, it's just like, they're just a little too much better cut. Now, Finland can shock somebody, right? It's not just Timo Pukki. As somebody that comes from a nation that loves to have a goalkeeper carry you to glory, Hradecki's a good goalkeeper. And Glenn Camera? That dude is actually pretty good. You got a goalkeeper stopping shots. You've got a facilitator in Glenn, and Pukki's running somewhere. It could be a Pukki party. They will score. I don't know if they're going to get any points. Which brings us to this Group C. I am not going to automatically slot the Netherlands in there. Okay, look, I know it's the Netherlands. I know that they're blessed with wonder kids all over the place, right? When does it come together for them as a national team? They missed the Euros. They missed the World Cup. This is still the same country that has not been to the last two major tournaments and has battled its way back into this position. They're also missing, as everybody knows, and you are not finding out for the first time, Virgil van Dijk is not going to be there as the experienced anchor. Now, they still have plenty of quality. De Vrij, another guy whose name I've just recently learned how to pronounce, and I'm very proud of it, De Ligt, who's probably going to catch COVID because he refuses to get vaccinated, so that's cool. Donny van de Beek just got hurt. That's not important at all. I just think it's hilarious because he's the most unlucky guy on the planet. All of this I'm using to cushion the fact that I think Austria is going to actually end up the top of this. Austria is the type of team that every time I look at them, I know they should be doing better than they are. They're littered with Bundesliga talent, and this means a couple of things. One, they're not going to be intimidated because they're used to playing world-class players all the time, up and down their roster. They've got Arnautovic, who can pop off in an Austrian jersey. They have Alaba, who can be the talisman. And they have a couple of cheeky players that, like, Sabitzer is really good. I do think Netherlands gets second, though. The trick is, I think Ukraine's getting third and Macedonia's fourth. Ukraine has a goalkeeper named Anatoly Trubin. I love him. Every time I've watched him play, he has been a god. He will carry Ukraine to third. I think North Macedonia is going to get a point. They might be able to beat Ukraine. North Macedonia is going to be buoyed by, it's their first tournament. The entire country is going to be invested, which means they're going to grow a third lung somewhere. Pandev is kind of a baller, even though he has a cane. This is going to be tighter than I think it should be, but Ukraine's going. Group D, this is where we try and counsel English people watching this video, which is about 35% of you, through the fact that England is actually an incredibly talented team that has like 3 or 4 layers of players that would be able to get out of a group stage in this competition. Croatia is getting second because Croatia is also a tremendously talented team, and everybody just always ignores that fact. Like, I know they made it all the way to the final, but people are like, oh, this is just like kind of lovable because the country is small. You assume that the team is not like deep or something. I mean, Ante Rebic, great. Andre Kramaric, really good. Josep Brekalo, I've always loved him. Kovacic, Modric, obviously a little old, but how about Brozovic, perhaps? Maybe a Perisic. Mario Pasalic at an Atalanta team that's in the Champions League every year now. Dejan Lovren. Just kidding. Josko Gvardiol, who is a really bright young central defender. Shimi Vershalko, who's a great fullback, who was really integral to them in the World Cup in 2018. The point being that it's just a tremendously talented team that is miles ahead of Scotland and Czechia. Czechia is a defensive-oriented team that is going to be happy to be here, and I do think Scotland has a chance to get out of this group. If it can beat Czechia, it might be able to take a point from Croatia and England just based off of sheer brawn and determination in the fact that John McGinn, despite the fact that he looks like a Sunday school teacher, is very good. I'm also fascinated by their tactic and their ability to get multiple left backs into the team every time I watch them play. I think it's hilarious. Robertson and then Tierney are like both overlapping on the left, and it works. It's cool. Group E, Spain, I do not think is great. And this is another opportunity to inject some of that chaos, because you know that things will not play out according to plan. They never do. Iceland shows up and draws Portugal in the group stage and then beats England in the knockouts. Like, things happen every international tournament that you just don't really see coming, but you knew were possible. And I think that's where we come in with Poland. Poland sucks always in international competition. It makes no sense. Lewandowski just seems to run out of gas or something, but he is coming off of a 40-goal season in the Bundesliga where you play 34 games. It is not even 38, it's 34. That is insane, right? The rest of the team, man for man, is going to be worse than Spain. But it is high time that Poland cashed in on the fact that they've got a chance to do something here. The last time they did that was when they were like hosting the Euros and they got, deeper into the knockout stages. They have tanked at every World Cup. Poland needs to grab, a moment. I think they can grab this one. They're going to need somebody else to step up. Mateusz Klich, or I honestly, names, dude. The guy from Leeds. I think he's the other guy that can step up to help lead Poland to this spot. There's the other factor, and I'm obviously fortunate to be recording this when we are. We're coming out with this video a little later than most people who are predicting this. Look, Spain, a lot of uncertainty. They missed their final tune-up game, right? The COVID situation where Busquets is out, which is a big blow by itself, but the rest of the team, they're all being quarantined and tested. That's going to be a very difficult situation, and all of that together, you're playing Lewandowski, who I think everybody in the Poland camp is aware this is the last national tournament potentially with him at the peak of his power. You gotta go. You gotta go now. Sweden's gonna slide in third, solid team. Kulusevski is sick, even though he hasn't quite rounded into fantastic form in Serie A. I think Kulusevski, it begins the next phase, and we've been waiting for Alexander Isak to do that for a while, but I think Kulusevski drags them forward. Slovakia, a team that is certainly going to be proud to be here. I'm going to really enjoy seeing Marek Hamšík back. That's about it, though. I mean, the Football Manager simulations didn't like them. I don't really like the team. They're thin, to say the least. They've got a couple of dudes. Like, unless Skriniar is cloning himself, I don't see them being able to keep Poland, Spain, and Sweden from scoring. I just don't. Now to the final group, where a Hungary team that has already been kicked while it's down, Dominik Szoboszlai, who is their wonder kid, is not at this tournament. So sick, right? Then these other three teams, absolute mess. No idea who's going to go where. One team's going to have to qualify through the third position, which of course, if Hungary is able to take points off of anyone, that team is automatically doomed, because they're going to have to go out and win against, France, Germany, or Portugal to try and pull themselves back out of that position. Hungary really does have a chance to spoil the party here. Who do I think is going to win the group? I think it's the French. Look, Football Manager actually doesn't think it would be the French in this situation, but look, France is the reigning World Cup champion. I think they've really improved from that point. There's so much confidence and faith in the team. They're just going to end up there. Germany is a team in transition, but Joachim Löw is a very good coach. I think this is going to be incredibly, incredibly tight, and they're going to finish second. I think Portugal, it's going to be an easy qual for Portugal. I think they end up with a draw against France or Germany. Obviously, in this situation, I'm predicting Germany. I think Germany beats Hungary by more, and that's what finishes second for them. But Portugal is going to go through. Like, we're going to go ahead and select them as one of the third place teams to go through. Another one of the third place teams that I think is probably a good bet is Denmark. Denmark is going to be able to pick up likely 3 points against Finland, and I want to make sure we have them in the knockouts because they're very capable of beating like a Russian team too. The third team is going to be Switzerland. I think the Swiss are just completely unkillable in these competitions. They find a way. They just scrap their way into a knockout stage, inevitably to lose in the first round. I also think that they'll beat Wales and maybe draw Turkey. That's completely within their wheelhouse, and they'll go. The final spot completely up for grabs here between Sweden and Scotland. I don't think Ukraine's going to grab it. Again, I think North Macedonia could totally draw them. North Macedonia, I don't believe is the worst team at this tournament. I know a lot of other people believe that, but like, I just don't. Especially with the enthusiasm, like the edge that they play with. And we're talking about a team that actually drew Germany in Germany. They're capable of that because they put their hard hat on. They go to work. And that's going to hold Ukraine out of this position. I just believe that there is some magic. There is some magic to being in this tournament for the first time, where you are able to go out there and grab points, to grab wins. But I just can't do it. It's Sweden. It's got to be Sweden. You've got a weakened Spain. The other team is Poland. Slovakia is a very fringe dark horse. Let's get to the knockout stages. So that pins Belgium against Sweden. I do think that Belgium and its golden generation, as much as they might not like each other, is going to get themselves into the next round. I'm looking forward to seeing De Bruyne in some sort of weird face mask. The irony of him wearing a face mask after Rudiger, a man with a face mask, broke his face, is rich. Italy, Netherlands, which is just the first knockout tie that's sumptuous. And because I really don't want to make this pick, we're going to go ahead and pick France over Switzerland, because Switzerland's done its job at an international tournament. Knockout stages. There you go. The Italians and the Dutch. Well, I wasn't high on the Dutch, so I am going to go Italy, even though I also believe this Italian team is going to be somewhere around Spain, where they're a giant. They've got great players, but it's just not quite clicking. It's not turning over. I know they're going to be able to host matches, but when you get to the knockouts, that's going to be a bit more interpretive. But being able to play in Rome, Italy hasn't lost in Rome in like 60 years or something crazy like that, so it'll bolster them through playing against somebody like the Netherlands. Here's where Spain, just being a bit of a shadow of itself with the COVID situation, comes into play. Croatia's very good in this situation, and we set up a World Cup finals rematch. Poland and Denmark. A beautiful tie to put some team that just doesn't really deserve to be here in to the next round. No offense to anybody. This matchup in particular is fascinating. Denmark will boss the midfield. Poland obviously has the better striker, with no offense meant to like Yusuf Paulsen. Bentner's not walking through that door, so I think Poland's going to take it. That is really going to depend on how well somebody like Klick's able to play. Poland has the forwards. The defense in this game is also edging to Denmark. Andreas Christensen just won the Champions League. You know, came off the bench, but still. England, Germany. Ooh. I think England walks it. I think England is able to get through that. I'm changing my pick. I literally talked myself into it. I'm like, look, Denmark has too much talent to be losing this game to Poland. I think Poland's able to play its way out of the groups, but with that group is watered down with Spain and COVID and such. Now Austria, Portugal. Cristiano Ronaldo, 1-0. Brutal loss for the Austrian team that provided so much to root for in the group stages. Turkey and Russia. Not only will this just be an incredible edgelord affair, but I do think that the Turks have a serious axe to grind and arguably have the better players than the Russians. But it is hard to deny the fact that the Russian engine and the fact that they will most certainly be doping will get them into the quarterfinals. Like they did, Artem Zhuba, the Russian bear, is going to go score a goal. He's going to elbow both Portuguese center backs, pick them up, throw them into the stands, and nobody's even going to bat an eye or be suspicious about why he's able to do such things. I do think they're toast in the next round, though. I think Portugal is a team with enough quality to nullify the fact that Russia can run everywhere all the time. England and Denmark it's just a tie that England has to win. I mean, like, there is nobody on this Danish team with comparable talent to like the top 7 or 8 English players. Like, if you are English, you've got to recalibrate your brain. You have players that are pure world-class players at a lot of positions, and Denmark's got, the sprinkling. right? I love Delaney, but Christian Eriksen, okay. Schmeichel's good, but England squeaks it. They're going to need a moment of magic, maybe a set piece, maybe a penalty. France and Croatia. Oh, you have no idea how much I want to pick Croatia in this match. This Croatian team is great. It's young, exciting. I think that they're going to be able to do a lot of great things in this tournament. Shoot, I have them beating Spain. I have them making it very difficult for England in the tournament. But this is a France team that if its head is screwed on right, is going to lose this game. I gotcha. No, look, you just, unless you are Spain, tend to struggle after winning a previous major tournament. You don't have that mental edge. You feel like you're going to coast through. Croatia's going to have revenge on the mind. The swan song of Luka Modric, they're into the semifinal. Belgium and Italy, I think we have a Belgium win here. We've gone over the reasons that the Italians are probably, well, just not quite there. Ciro Immobile has had a fantastic season, but he has never been a player that struck me as somebody that can carry a team. Verratti has not impressed me recently at PSG. I just realized we hadn't really gone through the reasons. Like, they're always going to be able to defend, but Belgium is going to find a way to win that match. Setting up Croatia, Belgium, England, Portugal. Oh, tasty semifinal at the bottom with England, Portugal. But Belgium and Croatia, look, Belgium's defense is so bad, but Croatia's defense is intriguingly bad as well. In terms of growing into a sense of believing that you can get to this point, Belgium got to the semifinal last time, and they're going to bludgeon their way all the way to the final this time. England and Portugal, this Portuguese team is tremendously talented, but I think that there is something special about this England team, and we'll see how far that goes. But I think this is an English team where, there's the healthy amount of English pessimism out there, but this is an English team where a lot of people are sitting down and looking at it and going, I mean, Mount, Foden, Kane, Rashford, right, Chilwell, who just won the Champions League at left back. You have your choice at center back. You have John Stones at Man City. You have Harry Maguire of Manchester United. And these guys are driving forces for these teams. You have Ben White for some reason. England in its national pool probably has 5 of the 10 best right backs in the world. So take your pick at which one you want to play on the day. The goalkeeper situation, Pickford has the national momentum behind him. He becomes a different player in the England shirt, sure. Portugal, I feel like, hasn't matured enough to be able to win that game, which brings us to a Belgium-England final. This would be the first time England's ever made it to a European Championship final, but experience is going to rule the day here. England, as a squad, is well experienced at getting to the latter stages of tournaments, but in 2018 we were talking about a team that had Jesse Lingard and Dele Alli playing important roles in it. So now this is a new breed of guys that are expected to lead this team outside of Harry Kane, outside of like Maguire and Kane. The creative engines are young. But the issue for Belgium is that they are not world class through basically every position in the same way that England is. I do think, though, that the determination and the experience of Belgium is going to play a big role here. I'm really torn, though. The safe pick here is, look, Belgium is going to get out of their group basically every time with a pretty favorable draw in the knockouts. And so you would want to say Belgium is going to win it. And the problem is, if I pick England, then everybody in the comments is going to be like, he's just doing it for the views, dude, you idiots. Also, I know that somebody's going to be like, yo, Luke Shaw should start. I think Chilwell's better. I'm sorry. Oh, who wins? I think it's time. I think Belgium, they got to get one, right? I mean, Lukaku is maybe at his best ever. Hazard has been trying to get fit for this tournament. I'm working under the assumption that he's going to be playing at a normal, pace. De Bruyne is going to be running around out there making mad things happen. They've got an injection of youth and the type of player that could break out at this tournament, like Yeremi Doku, who I've been high on because Football Manager's been high on him. Only watched him play like 4 times, right? What this really comes down to, though, is that England has this innate ability to just wither in these moments where they have gone past where they were expected to go. Belgium and its golden generation win the Euros.